Good day. Welcome to Via Catholica, your Catholic way to God. This coming Sunday, the Church will be celebrating the Feast of Christ the King. And in this episode, I, Brother Shan, will be sharing a short reflection about Christ the King. I still remember the crystal clear day of November 20, 2018, when we, the then seminarians of Casasiaco Recoleta Seminary, joined the people of Baguio who flocked and gathered at the Baguio Athletic Bowl to attend the celebration of the Feast of Christ the King. The opening words of the bishop as he opened his homily would always linger in my mind whenever I would remember the feast. Every time we celebrate the Feast of Christ the King, we would always see two images of Christ: the Christ covered in glory, and the crucified one. Remembering these words, I cannot help but ask the question, how did the King of Glory end up crucified on the cross? His golden crown was replaced by a crown of thorns. His majestic robe with hundreds of wounds and a small piece of stained cloth with blood, the scepter with nails, and the glorious seat with a cross made up of wood. In movies themed with feudal settings, more often than not, the plot would revolve around a good-natured ruler who would be dethroned by a villain who would rule the kingdom by establishing a system different from the predecessor. Then the protagonist would make his comeback at the end. These villains would be ruling their subjects by instilling fear through power. This very characteristic, though villainous in films, has become a trend in our modern society. Many people tend to look strong and competent because they do not want to be labeled as weak, or maybe they don't want to be looked down upon. Some of them try to show others what they are capable of, not because they want to help them, but because they want them to feel inferior. In like manner, a few made themselves kings by their own rights, kings shaped by fear and who instill fear in their subjects in order to gain control. Christ's kingship is very different from the realities I have just mentioned. How? Because he rules with love. It is not by selfish power, but by love that he governs. It is the very reason why he, the King of Glory, ended up crucified on the cross. It is because of that love that he accepted the crown of thorns. It is because of that love that a majestic robe was exchanged for hundreds of whippings. It is because of that love that he patiently carried the cross towards the Calvary. In the lens of the Aristotelian golden mean, which states, in medio stat virtus, in middle stands virtue, Christ's action would be very vicious or even foolish, since his action of love was at the very extreme. But this is only in the human and natural standard of measurement, because with Christ's action, which is already a supernatural one, that which is, or any act whatsoever in the middle, is simply mediocrity. The measure of love is to love without measure, says our Father St. Augustine. It is because of this unconditional love that the Word was made flesh. In one of the most quoted lines in the Bible, it says, "For God so loved the world, that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." Knowing this, why do we need to fear if we know that he loves us? Going back to the question I have mentioned earlier, how did the King of Glory end up crucified on the cross? I realized that the cross was not the end of Christ the King, but his very triumph. He led by example, because it is love at the very heart of his commandments. Let this love of Christ outgrow the fear in our hearts, and let the love that we have received and is continually receiving from the King be shared. Let this love be the very motor of our actions. If Christ died for us out of love, what hinders us not to live in his love? I hope you have learned something from this reflection, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more videos and updates. Thank you, and God bless us all.